Hey, this is Jeremy from Monster Truck, and you're watching loudguitars.com.
Hi, Pamela Ashton here with loudguitars.com, and I'm thrilled to be sitting with Jeremy Widerman from Monster Truck. Thanks for sitting with us.
Yes, I'm glad to be here.
So tonight's the last show of your Alice in Chains tour.
Yeah, it's been about a week and a half now, and we're just kind of wrapping things up, and guys have been great to us, and we're just we're just glad to be a part of it, and we're also glad to be going home for a few days.
Oh, bet. How long's it been since you've been home?
About 3 weeks, which isn't that long, but we've been driving an incredible amount on this tour because they've got tour buses, and we're just chasing them in the van. So, we're glad to get a couple days off and get some sleep in.
I see. Now, if we can go right back to the beginning, because I really like the story of Monster Truck, how it came about, and I have to say I did some homework, and I really admire your honesty in interviews, the down-to-earth, approachable, and it makes knowing your story all that much more interesting.
So I just feel like adding in there, like, I think it's only interesting if it is the truth. Even if the truth sucks sometimes, there's a lot of times that the truth isn't actually that exciting, but it still ends up being better than an exciting lie. So
that's kind of a Canadian trait too, isn't it?
I guess. I don't know for sure. We haven't done a lot of traveling yet, and it'd be interesting to see how everything else is on the other side of the ocean there.
Well, you started in 2009? 2011, first EP. In 2009, first EP.
I think the first EP was out in 2009. The band started in 2009, I believe. It might have been 2008. My brain is scrambled eggs. But yeah, we've been around for 4 years, so just minus that. But yeah, first EP was a self-titled EP, and it was just a business card to send out into the world, kind of.
And so how many songs are on that first EP?
Just 4 songs. We were in a situation we didn't have a lot of money, and again, with both EPs, we didn't have enough money to do a full length, even though we had the songs and we wanted to do a full length. But the idea was do 4 songs really well instead of 10 songs kind of half-assed. So that was what we did with both the EPs until we got enough steam and enough support to do the full length. And
you took those EPs and you fired them out to record labels, PR companies, booking agents, everywhere? Not
really, no. I mean, the band was started to be just for fun in the bar scene, kind of almost like a cover band that doesn't play covers. It was really meant to just be for Hamilton and just for ourselves. And I guess we kind of did that more with the Brown EP, but the first EP was really kind of just like get it recorded and give it away. And we gave away the Brown EP as well after that because it worked so well. But it was really just about giving it to the people who wanted to hear it, and we paid less attention about getting it into industry hands or anything like that. And we even released the Brown EP ourselves for free on our website for about 8 months until it actually got picked up and then re-released.
Okay, so it was like truly a labor of love, a passion project, just full of let's do this, and if people pay attention, cool, and if not, it's making us happy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was started almost as an affront to the music industry because I was sick of it and in general, and I just wanted to do something that had no rules and no boundaries and didn't have to answer to anybody except us. And we were all really on the same page right out of the gate, and we kind of talked about it as a group before we started. And it's funny how it kind of got twisted into now being fully engulfed in the music industry, but I think it started from a really honest place, and that's why we've had a lot of the success that we've had.
Okay, so you managed to get some tours with those EPs once they were released. You got some tours under your belt, and some big ones. Slash, Deep Purple, massive. That must have been phenomenally exciting and satisfying on such a deep level for you, having stayed true to your music and then what you wanted to play. So and you toured heavily, and then you came back and did Furiosity. Yeah. So what was the recording process like for Furiosity? Was it a big difference in the studio, the vibe, compared to what was going on with the EPs?
So this is a long this is a long answer. We basically did the record the first time, and we went to LA to do it with a LA producer in this studio that used to be Sound City. It's now been changed into something else called Fairfax. But we went there and we did it, and we kind of had a clash of vision with the producer as far as what he wants to get out of a record and what we were expecting, and it just didn't turn out very good, and we actually had to come to terms with the fact that we weren't happy with it and we wanted to scrap it and redo it. And that's what ended up happening. Eventually, after like 4 months of like basically toiling with the record, we just scrapped it and started over. And when we started over, the process that we used to do it the second time was very similar to what we did on the Brown EP. Same producer, and really kind of concentrated on getting back to basics. And we were in the same, other than going to the Asheville, North Carolina to cut the drums, everything else was exactly the same as basically the Brown EP, but with more time, which was, I was very happy about that.
And did you write in the studio as a group, or had you had some songs that you'd been kicking around on tour and trying to perfect on tour before going into the studio?
A little bit of both. We had a large group of songs that we'd been playing on the road, which was great because we'd honed them right down to what, as close to perfection as we could have them. And then we definitely were writing in pre-production, which was basically taking Eric Ratz, the producer, bringing him to the jam space, showing him the new songs, working them, reworking them, demoing them, showing them to the label, because we kind of had to show what we were working on to the label. Now that we'd screwed up the first record, we had to kind of like show them that we weren't going to screw it up again. And so, yeah, we spent a lot of time like working on a couple new songs. A couple of the songs on the record that are a little more different than our standard, what we've been kind of come to know as Monster Truck. We've kind of changed it a bit, just for a couple different tunes. But yeah, for the most part, it was a half and half. It was on the road for half, and the other half were done with the help of the producer and right before we hit the studio.
And who is it? One person that does most of the writing in the band, or is it really a collaborative effort?
It's a pretty collaborative effort. Songs usually start with a single riff or an idea. Sometimes we start with the song title, actually, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, we would sit down and we would start with maybe one riff that John would write or that I would write, and then we kind of either bring that riff to the rehearsal space and kind of flesh it out from there and kind of add parts, and everyone gets involved with where it should go from there, and sometimes it comes together in a practice. Sometimes we have the core structure of the song recorded on a iPhone or something by the end of the practice, and that's when we know we've got a good song. If it comes together like a snap, then those end up being the best songs for some reason, and the ones that we struggle with for 2 weeks usually just end up going in the trash.
Okay, yeah, so it's a very natural evolution. And when you talk about playing songs that are maybe not in the mainstream of what you're known for right now, that's also still staying true to what's in your heart and staying true to making sure that your fans keep as open a mind as you guys have all the way through.
Yeah, we don't stray too far. We haven't really done anything that's kind of like you would never have seen it coming. It's more been just about, it was less about having those songs and more about having a record that was diverse, because we are doing a lot of the same ideas for a lot of the songs, so it's good to have a couple songs in there to break it up a little bit, and we wanted it to feel like a journey. We wanted to have the songs kind of flow into the next and into the next, and we wanted it to feel like when you press play on the first track, you want to listen to the whole thing all the way through, instead of being like, I want to hear track 7, or I just want to hear that one song. It was more about, let's make this trying to make it somewhat of an experience from a band who typically has just been blasting off 3-minute rock songs one after the other. We wanted to do a little more with it this time.
Juno winners, that must have been quite the trip. You've also won other awards. It's been starting to gain quite a bit of momentum since I was watching an interview that the whole band had done in April, and it was interesting because you were asked about your gear and your guitar, and you talked about playing an old amp that you like this old amp, and you were comfortable with your mid-range guitar, if memory serves the words you used, and of course you alluded to looking for something from the almighty Gibson.
Yeah.
And now had a peek at your site, and look at that, we see Traynor and Gibson.
Yeah, it's developed a little since that interview, actually, for two reasons. One is Gibson has endorsed the band now, and we're getting a little help from them. My guitar, the one I was using at that time was a mid-range guitar. The guitar I have now, or the guitar I'm using now, is a 72 Gibson SG, and it's not far from mid-range because it's 40 years old and it sounds incredible. And then as for the amp that I was using, I was in Minneapolis about a month ago, and I walked into a secondhand store, and there was another one, like an exact same replica of my head, which is insane because there's only 300 of them in the world of this exact like model and run of amps, and I never thought I'd find another one. I've never seen another one anywhere, and I walked into the store and there it was. It looked brand new, you know. It's like 30 years old and it's sitting there, and I did a double take, and there's other ones that look like that are like knockoff, kind of like they'd been reproduced in Japan or China or something, and I thought it was one of those, and then I checked it and it wasn't. It was a hand-wired, real deal Soldano SL60, and I bought it right there in the spot. Now I've got two of them, and in fact the serial number is only 5 digits apart. So they basically like came off the line the same week. So now I've got two, and I blew the main one up, the one I've had for 8 years. I blew it up a week ago. So I had to switch to the backup that I just bought, and I'm using that tonight. I'm loving that. And then the main one's going to get fixed, and I'll have two, and it'll be the best thing ever.
That's great. And what are you using in terms of pickups and strings?
For pickups, I'm using the Gibson Classic Plus, 57 Classic Plus humbucker. It's basically kind of a replica of the PAF, which is like one of the most like legendary pickups of all time. I've put them in both my guitars. It's kind of like a lot of guitar players tend to use a lot of hotter pickup. My amp is screaming hot, so I don't really need that extra bite on the guitar too. And I'm using D'Addario. I'm using D'Addario strings, and it's a kind of a custom set that I've come up with on my own because they don't make the set that I want them to make yet. Yeah, well, hopefully the band gets bigger and I'll be able to convince them to make this staple set that they can sell. But it's basically 12 to 52 gauge D'Addarios, but I've swapped out the 52 and the whatever it is, the 46, and up those a little thicker because we're drop tuned into D standard. So I need the thicker gauge so that it doesn't whack so far out of tune when if I hit it super hard or whatever.
And do you take a number of guitars on tour?
I take 3. I take my Gibson SG, which is my main guitar. I use it pretty much all the time. I've got a backup, which is my Les Paul Studio. It's a 2002 Les Paul Studio. I use that for so many years, and it's gotten better with every year, but it's still not as good as my SG. And then I've got a third backup, which is Harvey's guitar. It's his Hagstrom Swede, and it doesn't come out of the case very often, but it sounds awesome. It's just not really my style. But yeah, we got 3 guitars. I hope to have a lot more. I'm really pushing on Gibson right now to give me another SG, but we'll see how that goes.
Okay, Gibson, hook 'em up. Monster truck, Jeremy, hook 'em up. What are you doing for pedals right now? You seem like a bit of a gear guy. You enjoy all the different sounds and tones and play?
No, I don't like pedals very much. I mean, they have a time and a place, and there's a lot of guitar players that use them to great effect. I love my tone straight into the head, but I run a couple things. I'm running a wah. That was basically from the inspiration of playing with Slash last year and seeing what he did with it, and feeling like I needed to add a little dimension to some of the solos. So I'm using just a Crybaby. Jim Dunlop wah, and I've also got a MXR Phase 90 that I use for about 40 seconds a night, and then the only other thing I've got going on right now is just kind of a new product that Bad Cat has just come out with, and I've been bugging them for an endorsement. Bad Cat, I'm giving you so much press all the time, and you never return my emails.
Did I just hear you at the mic?
No, you didn't. No, you totally didn't. No, anyways, they made this product called the Unleash. It's basically an attenuator. It's this something that goes between the head and the cab that you can run the amp super hot, and then you can turn it down on the way to the cab so you don't blow people's heads off, but you still get that rich tone from having the power tubes lit up all the way. And it has 2 separate levels of attenuation, so you can do 2 gain stages and switch between them, and it's the best invention in the history of guitar for me. It's exactly what I've wanted someone to make for like 5 years, and they finally invented it this year. And so I use that, and that to me makes my whole pedal board. It's just I'm allowed to stay at a really awesome sounding volume, and then I can hit it and go a little bit hotter for solos, and then go and have it be the exact same tone as before, but just a little bit louder. Instead of being fuzzier or gainier or whatever, it's actually like fully louder. and then I can switch back and no muss, no fuss. That's great.
Because it's tough, right? When you're playing rhythm guitar and then you've got to switch into leads. We're not talking about a rock band that has 2 guitar players, so you've really got to be able to do it all and step out. So yeah, your gear needs to be able to step up. So Black Cat, right?
Bad Cat.
Bad Cat.
Yeah,
All right.
They're a boutique amp company in the States. They make great amps too. But I'm in love with my Soldano. But I want them to give me another one of those because I paid full price for that one. I want a free one or a cheap one, and I want it now. Bad Cat, give me one.
Anything else on the wish list?
No, I'm pretty easy. I'm not greedy. I've got all the amp in the world that I need, which is awesome. I've got my guitar that I love to death, which actually got broken on a flight like a couple months ago and got repaired, and it's awesome. And yeah, I don't need much. I just want another SG from Gibson. I want Bad Cat, and the lights just went off on us. I think that's the end of the interview.
All right. So what's next now?
Just going home, taking like a week and a half off, playing Key to Battle with the Sheepdogs, and then I think basically we are going to go on tour in the States with a band called 10 Years, and we're looking at doing some European touring, UK, stuff like that in the fall, but we'll be announcing that soon.
Okay. I have to go back to this interview that I saw back in April, and somebody asked you what makes you nervous, and you said playing in an arena, because I haven't done that yet. But now you've done Download.
Yeah.
How is that?
I'm not nervous anymore. We've been doing arenas on this tour. This is like one of the rare club shows that we've been doing. We've been hitting the hockey arenas a lot on the Alice in Chains tour, and basically I've gotten somewhat used to it at this point. And I'm not fully used to it. I mean, still more comfortable in the club, but the arenas don't make me nervous like they used to. The show we just did the other day made me nervous. We played in front of close to 40,000 people in Quebec City on like the biggest stage we've ever played on, and that was like it's people as far as you could see with multiple main stage towers, like speaker towers, like all the way back to the back of the end of the world is what it seemed like, and that was nerve-wracking getting ready to go on stage for that. But even that went over really well, and we played great, and yeah, it's just you're getting used to these big stages is it's just all part of the game, I guess. And
you all knew each other in the band prior to forming this band, is that correct?
It's mostly correct. I knew all 3 members. Who hadn't met each other yet? I think Brandon and John hadn't met each other. They met each other at the first band practice. Because that was a situation where when we were getting ready to form the band, me and John and Steve had talked about it, and the first thing John said was, we need a rock organ player. And he didn't know anybody, and he was like, do you know anybody? And I was like, yeah, I actually do know somebody. I just met Brandon a couple months earlier on tour when he was in St. Alvia Cartel and I was in The Reason, and I says, I got the perfect guy. He's the coolest dude ever, and he plays organ, and it's going to be great. And I brought him to the practice, and it's like, John, Brandon, John, and there you go.
And history was made. It's nice. I watched some of the chemistry when you guys were starting sound check before you were playing, and the feedback. And it seems that for 4 men that have been traveling in a van for 3 weeks together, that you guys are getting along great, and there's good chemistry there. And I'm sure it's going to come off on stage tonight. I can't wait to see. Thank you for sitting with us.
No problem.
So appreciate it.
I like talking about my gear. I never get to talk about my gear. No one cares. So I'm glad I get to do it for once.
I'm glad you got to sit with us. That's great.